Good morning. Well, this makes a change for me to be live doing my Facebook Live on a morning. It's a Wednesday morning when I'm recording this at 10 a.m. So welcome, good morning, good evening, whatever time you are catching up and watching this. So I'm recording this currently as in the UK, we are in the middle of a heat wave. And like most of these things with our weather conditions here, we go through absolute extremes. One moment it's summer and we're complaining it's freezing cold. Well, certainly I am. And then next moment, boom, we're just hit with a heat wave. No warning. It just hits us. Literally can go from one extreme temperature to another overnight. And of course, here in the UK, our houses are just not designed for hot weather. We have loft insulation to keep the heat in. We have thick carpets, thick curtains, and everything is just designed to keep our houses warm. So it's very, very difficult to think about staying cool. And if you're having to work and have an active job and you're outside a lot, it's very important to think of ways and things that you can do to try and cool your body down to stop it overheating. We worry about overheating when we're on holiday, but this is a time to think about this. So if you're watching it currently as I'm recording this, as we're going through a heat wave, or at any point in the future, you know, these are very, very useful tips that I've picked up along my way through my naturopathic training. I'm going to be drawing on my hydrotherapy training here. Some of you may be aware of the current move with Wim Hof and his ice baths, and what I'm going to talk about here is very different to that actually, and I'll be briefly explaining why. And I'm also going to be talking about fluids. I'm not really talking so much today about eating and what we should be eating. Very much focused about how to stay cool, but how to do things in a healthy way. We need to make sure we're taking care of our body all the time. Now, in hydrotherapy, we talk about short cold applications. These are using short cold water for up to 1 minute, 30 seconds up to 60 seconds maximum. Now, what this does is when you use cold water in that way, the cold water will constrict your blood vessels, but because it's in such a short space of time, it then allows blood vessels to dilate rapidly. If you do the cold for a long time, it keeps that constriction in place. So it's short cold, shock the body, but not too cold, using cold water to constrict, but then very, very quickly the body will respond and react by dilating those blood vessels. And that, of course, with the dilation of the blood vessels closer to the surface of the skin, allows the heat to escape. It has a very different effect to using long cold water applications. So what sort of things could you be thinking of doing? Well, a very simple way to start this is to use a washing up bowl, put your feet in cold water. This is not cold water with loads of ice in it. That could be too much of a shock for the body. Just using really, really cold water from the tap. Yes, you might add a few ice cubes to it, but not like stacks of ice cubes as I sometimes see things recorded. To make sure the water is cold, put your feet in for that 30-60 seconds. That's very, very useful for perhaps elderly people who can't get in and out of a bath. And it's a little bit more gentle from what I'm going to go on to talk about next. The second thing that you can think about doing, I actually do this all year round because actually this has the effect of not just cooling the body, but it's to do with metabolism and circulation as well, and immune function using cold water in this way. But end your showers in cold water. Yes, I do mean your whole body. I don't necessarily put my head under it, but my whole body from my shoulders down. I move my body around for 30 seconds. At the moment, I'm certainly doing up to 60 seconds of cold water. Remember, you've got to keep it short, 30 seconds. Deep breathing is very helpful to engage in doing this, and I promise you it does get easier. Now, if that seems just like too much, if you want to do more than just the feet, but the thought of the whole body is just too much. Another thing you can do, whether it's in the shower or you're in the garden with a hose pipe, and this is certainly what I did when I was doing my training. We were outside in October, November with a hose pipe doing this, is to run cold water up and down your lower legs. You run up the outside of your legs, inside, down inside the legs, you run cold water over the soles of your feet, and you finish off running backwards and forwards above your knee. So upside the outside of the leg, downside the inside of the leg, under the soles of the feet, and going backwards and forwards just above the knee. And you do that for both legs, maybe 30 seconds on each side. You may dry off between your toes, but then just move around. You don't want to be drying your legs. You need that water and evaporation to cool you down. So don't then just go and dry your legs immediately afterwards. Now, for those with a much weaker constitution, this is where you could just use a very cold flannel under cold water. Again, you don't want to be putting this in the freezer because it's too much of a shock on the body, particularly if you're doing this with someone who's quite infirm and unwell. But if they're hot, just that cold flannel under the tap, very, very cold water, wring it out and over the forehead. And you, as that warms up, you can repeat that and do that a few times. And whilst you're doing that, and if you want to do that as well, cold cucumber slices, I know it's an old beauty trick, but it has been shown that if you use cold cucumber slices over the eyes, that has a very anti-inflammatory, anti-puffy effect on the eyes. It can be really helpful. So that's all about using cold water applications. I'm going to go on and talk about fluids now. And the one thing I want to get away from here is thinking that you've just got to keep drinking more and more. And I'll go on to explain why. It's about how you drink fluids in a very, very safe way for the body. First of all, you may want to try drinking a hot herbal drink. Notice I use the word herbal. Again, a hot drink, like using cold water in a short period of time, using the hydrotherapy analogy here, a hot drink will have the same effect of it sort of raise your core body temperature, and by raising your core body temperature you think, why on earth would I want to do that when I'm already hot? But your body will then kick in and say, I've got to cool the body down. It just immediately kicks it in, raises it up briefly, and it will immediately allow the body to sweat and let off that excess heat. So that's one thing that you could do. You really need to avoid caffeinated drinks. The caffeine acts as a stimulant, always acts as a stimulant in the body. If you're feeling hot, do not reach for caffeinated drinks. And by caffeinated drinks, I mean your normal black teas, but also your green teas, of course your coffee and your Cokes, colas, any drinks that have got caffeine in, because the stimulant is going to raise your core body temperature, but not in a way with the effect of the using a hot drink in that way. So avoid the caffeinated drinks as much as you can. There are so many types of herbal teas out there. People who love normal tea often will love Red Bush, that rhubarb tea that has no caffeine in it and naturally tannin free as well. But there are lots of herbal teas out there, fruit teas as well. See if you can find something you like. If you don't like other hot drinks and you want a hot drink, maybe just a hot drink with lemon slices in. That's certainly something that I like to drink, and I've always started my day doing that. Now, the next important point, you must sip your fluids throughout the day. Don't go glugging huge amounts of fluid in one go. Please don't do that. It can be really dangerous to the body in upsetting your electrolyte balance. That's my next point that I'm going to talk about. So you need to sip your fluids little and often is the aim. Now, yes, when it's really hot and your body is going to be sweating, whether you're like overly sweating, like when you've done exercise, but that just, your body is going to be cooling you down, it's going to be sweating more. So you may need about an extra litre of water. That may take you up to about 3 litres of fluid in a day. Don't assume you've got to be drinking endless amounts of fluid all day long. And when we say 3 litres maximum, then it does include all your fluid intake, whatever it's your hot drinks and your cold drinks, it's all your fluids that you drink throughout the course of that day goes into that bucket of 3 litres maximum. Certainly over 2 litres is definitely what you need to be thinking about. So remember, little and often, sipping your drinks. Don't suddenly think, oh my God, I haven't drunk all morning and I'm now feeling really dehydrated. If you're feeling dehydrated, drink a little bit more than a few sips, but please don't go and consume like a litre of water. it's not the healthiest thing to do for your body. That alone isn't going to be overly dangerous, but just bear in mind what I'm going to come on and talk about electrolyte balance. If you're unsure about whether you're drinking enough, one of the best things you can do is look at the colour of your urine the next time you go. Now, first thing in the morning, yes, it's going to be more concentrated, but during the day, go and have a little look about what's going on, because it should be a pale straw colour. That's a sign that you are drinking enough. You don't want to be so pale. That may be a sign you've drunk too much, but if it's a very dark colour, it's definitely a sign you're not drinking enough fluids. So you want to make sure that it's this pale straw colour, which is a sign that your body is adequately hydrated. Do be aware though, if you eat a lot of beetroot, it's going to change the colour. If you consume B vitamins, a supplement, they can make your urine go a bit of a bright yellow colour, which isn't something to be alarmed about if you consume those types of foods and supplements. Always be aware, for other reasons, you know, there could be something else going along. So have a look at the colour of your pee next time you go. Now, the electrolyte balance. Now, this is where at this time of year we need salts in our diet. You can add salts to your food. I like the idea of adding a pinch of salts if you're going out and about for the day and you're taking fluids with you. Add a little pinch of salts to your liquid. A little pinch of Himalayan salts is nice because the Himalayan salts have a much better balance of salts in them. Now, when I talk about electrolytes, these are minerals: sodium, potassium, chloride. It's those types of minerals, and they act as electrolytes in your body, in your bloodstream. What do I mean by that? They are really important to keep in balance. They have an essential role to do with blood pressure regulation, to do with muscle contraction, so a really important role in keeping your heart beating in a regular rhythm. They enable fluids to move in and out of the cells in the right proportion, so they stop the cells becoming dehydrated or too much fluids moving in. So this electrolyte balance and nerve impulses, many important roles to do with electrolytes in the body, essential important roles. It's very important we keep our electrolytes in balance. And so I get very alarmed when I just see advice telling people to be drinking more fluids. When you're drinking more fluids when it's hot, we must be thinking about adding some more electrolytes to our waters or adding a little bit more salts to our foods. You can use table salts, but I like using Himalayan rock salts. It's the pink ones that you can buy because it has a better balance of these minerals, which again is going to be really important in keeping everything in balance. And finally, of course, movement. Of course, the body wants to slow down naturally. It's conserving its energy. It's trying to stop the body overheating. So we do need to listen to that. But we do still need to move. We need to keep the blood and especially the lymph flowing around the body. If we sit still all day long, it's not enabling good lymph flow. That's the lymph that helps to drain toxins away from our cells and our tissues. It's really important, naturopathically, we say, to keep lymph flowing well around the body. And we can only do that effectively through movement. So we don't want to be completely idle. And equally, we don't want to be out in the hot sun overheating. So if you can, get up early, go for a walk. End of the day when it's cooled down a bit, if it has cooled down, go for a walk. If you're in a house, move around the house a bit, go up and down the stairs. You know, do think about keeping moving your ankles, lift your legs up, move your ankles around. Think about opening up the top half of the body, getting the body moving here in a gentle way that's not overly heating the body, but really helps to stimulate and move that lymph. Another way to keep lymph flowing is through this diaphragmatic breathing. Deep breathing is going to help move the diaphragm, and that also helps to get lymph flowing around the body. So do get up, move around. If you can, stand at your desk, stand a bit more, walk a bit more, up and down stairs if you've got them, early morning walks, but this is not a time for strenuous activity. So bear all those thoughts in mind. I'd love to hear your comments below about any of those tips I've just suggested to you. I'm sure some of those are going to be new to you. do give that short cold water applications a go, whether it's just the legs, feet in cold water, or go for it and try that all over cold water shower for 30 to 60 seconds. Let me know how you get on and have a lovely week. Take care this weekend if you're watching this live. We know it's going to be mega hot, so do take care. Think about the fluids. Think about adding some more salts to your food or your liquids. And that way you're going to help keep the body cooler, calmer, and keep it healthy as well. Bye everyone, and I'll be back next Tuesday evening at 6.